Hello, I am going to explain to you how to put on a new string if a string breaks, as I've had a couple people message me like today that a string has broken. And I'm going to show you how to do that, and then right after I will remind you how to tune. Because I've also had some people message me saying that their instrument's crazy out of tune and they don't know what to do. Which you should, because we've talked about it. But I will go over it again. So I have my violin. The process is the same for every instrument except bass is slightly different just because of the hugeness of it. But also the fact that they don't have fine tuners and stuff like that. But I only have one fine tuner. My violin's really dirty. I need to clean it. But anyway, so I'm going to untune my D string. Okay. Okay. Oh no, my D string broke. How unfortunate. Now, if you have a new string, then it's actually a lot easier to work with than a string that's already been on your instrument, because you can see how curly-cued this is now because it's been wrapped around a peg. A brand new string is very, very straight, so it's actually a lot easier to do. So I kind of have to force this to straighten a little bit so it's a little bit easier to do. Now, when your peg doesn't have a string on it, it can just come out. The string is what keeps the peg in the peg box, okay? So if your string were to break and stuff and your peg comes out, like, you didn't break it more, like, it is what it is, okay? So other string was kind of touching the peg. Okay, also, let's see if you can see. There is a hole right there, so you can see me. Hello. Okay, that hole is where the string has to actually go through. It needs to go through, like through. Okay, you want to have a little bit of a tail poking through, because as you are turning the string to tighten it and everything, it's going to be pulling on this string. So if you like put like that much through, the string very likely is going to come back out. Okay, so you want to give it a nice tail, about yay-ish. Okay, and that doesn't really matter, violin, viola, cello, or bass. You want to give it a little bit of a tail. Okay, now if you tried that just now, you need to take the string out because you got to be able to put the peg back in. So the peg's in. Okay, now I'm gonna move and try to allow you to see things. Okay, to the best of my ability. I'm going to try to make it visible for you. Okay, so we're going to find the hole. Okay, put the string. Of course, like I said, a new string is actually easier to do this with. So you're going to push the string through. You can try to turn and make sure you see that little tails poking through. Okay, then you can go ahead and start turning the peg away to tighten. When you wrap the string, you want to try to keep the string from overlapping itself, because when it overlaps, it ends up sliding a lot more. So you want to try to wrap the string so it's next to each other. Strings on this side, you want to wrap on the left of the hole if you can. Strings on that side, you want to wrap to the right of the hole. Otherwise, you get this weird like crossover at the very end. I'm going to try to avoid that if you can. Okay, so you're going to go till most of the colorful winding at the top is up here. Strings down on the lower end, so like your lowest string and your highest string, might be a little bit less of that because they're closer this way. It just kind of depends. Okay, so I got pretty much as far as it's going to go for that end. So then I want to go and try to put it in the tailpiece. Okay, now if you have a fine tuner, then you're going to be putting it into the fine tuner in some way. I don't, so I'm just going to be putting it directly into the hole of the tailpiece. Now I actually tightened it too far and my string won't reach. So I need to loosen a little bit. Okay, and it's fine if you need to loosen it a bit. Okay, and then you put it in there. I know my fingers are kind of blocking it, sorry. So it goes in, and then you pull it into the little narrow section so it gets kind of stuck. Okay, now obviously the string is way too loose. This isn't going to function. So now we are in like tuning territory. Okay, so I'm going to kind of hold it a little bit tight. So it's tight from the tailpiece, but it's going to be loose this way. Okay, and so then I just have to tune. So when your string is really loose, okay, remember you're going to have your strings facing you. You're turning the peg away. And then you want to, use your peg as much as you can. And then you use the fine tuner at the end. Okay, fine tuner is last result, or last resort, I should say. Like for me, I don't have a fine tuner, so I have to get it completely with my, I was gonna say my fingerboard. That doesn't make sense. My pegs. Okay. There you go. Okay. Remember, if your peg doesn't move, like it's stuck, then you can use some force and turn the peg towards you to loosen your peg. Okay. Because it's just going to make your string looser. So if your string's already loose, that might seem kind of counterintuitive to do that. Like, well, I don't want to make it looser. Well, I know, but you need to move your peg. So you do that to make sure that you can move your peg, and then once it moves, then you turn it away. If your peg is consistently slipping, so you're trying to tighten, and it's doing that. Mine don't really slip, luckily, at least right now. But if that happens, then remember you push in on the peg into the peg box, and that might be enough to just do that one good push, and then it's fine and it sticks like you want it to. If it still slips, then you have to be real careful and you have to push in as you turn. Okay, you can push in with some force, but you do not want to turn with force because that's when you accidentally break a string, which I'm curious if that's what happens to some people. Okay, so that's the deal. Okay, if you have broken a string and you don't have a backup, which I would assume probably most of you don't, if you own your instrument, then you definitely have to go about just ordering a new string online from somewhere. You could try to do it through Pages. You could do it through sharmusic.org, I think. Woo, bless me. There's a lot of places. There's a whole lot. I think Johnson Strings is another one. That's a good one. But yeah, so there's a lot. You can just Google like where to buy violin strings or whatever. Obviously, if you're gonna have to go and buy a new string on your own, then you need to know the size of your instrument. That is important. Obviously, make sure you would be getting the right string, unless you want to get a whole set, which is completely cool if you want to do that. And then the brand string that you get is kind of up to you. Depends on the price that you want to pay. Yes, love. Can you do that? Now we know. Oh, children. At least he didn't make it all the way in. He's in his underwear right now. So yeah, so the brand of string, get back on track. The brand of string, I mean, there are better strings than others and stuff like that, but obviously, better strings cost more money. So depending on where you're at financially and your desire for quality strings and blah, 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 there's quite a range of price. And if you're just getting one string, then, I mean, it's kind of whatever. But like the strings that I have for my violin and my viola, a set is a little over $100. I do not anticipate you having that. You can, by all means, you can if you want to, but I do not expect that. So the strings that I have at school are Red Label or Prelude. They're basically the same, I think. They're also some of the cheapest strings, but they're the cheapest strings for a reason. So if you just need a string just to make sure you have one, then whatever, that's fine. But if you want to get, if you want to upgrade your strings and stuff, then there's some other options out there. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. If anyone needs any additional help, then reach out to me, and I'll do what I can.